All right, everybody, thank you for coming. I'm really excited to announce our next session. Um, our next speaker comes from WeWork, who has implemented Confluence to try to improve and promote transparency and collaboration with their global team. So please help me welcome Colleen up to the stage.
Good morning. Hey, everyone. I'm Colleen Kasprzak, and I'm so thrilled to be up here today to talk to you about how we at WeWork are using some Atlassian products. I'm an associate director of the strategic planning team at WeWork, and our goal and my role in that team is to identify and manage strategic projects and initiatives that drive growth and improve operational efficiency across the entire organization. And one of our recent projects and forever ongoing projects, and one that I've been involved in for about 4 years, is the development of our corporate intranet platform, WeWork Connect. And today I'm going to touch upon the evolution of Connect from a grassroots standards effort into a migration project of multiple cloud instances into an on-brand corporate intranet for all of our employees. And we did this by leveraging Confluence and Bricket ThemePress. And what we did was develop a platform that connects our team all over the world while still remaining true to our core brand values. And has everyone here heard of WeWork? Yeah? All right, so to start, I want to give a brief overview about our organization and what our company does. To begin, WeWork is a global network of workspaces where companies come to grow together. Teams can find beautifully designed collaborative spaces, private offices, meeting rooms, event spaces, but we are so much more than just four walls. When WeWork was founded in 2010, our co-founders wanted to build a community, a place where people could come as an individual me and then become part of a greater we. WeWork is a place where we want to redefine success by personal fulfillment and not just the bottom line. So to do that, we provide a number of services, amenities, of networking events, and technology platforms to actually evolve space into an experience. We support tens of thousands of businesses and over 150,000 members right now, in about 180 workspaces in 18 countries across the world. And this growth is obviously, we're growing really fast and scaling, and we've made significant strides to connect our members globally to each other, as well to the space and services and community they need to create their life's work. And to scale effectively, it was essential to build tools and services the same way for our internal team so that we could also scale. In order to support the growth of our product and our community and these platforms, we needed to grow a lot internally. When I first started this project, WeWork had just over 100 employees, and I started as a consultant in 2013. And when we launched Connect, actually in November, we just had over 1,500 employees. But now we've actually more than doubled in size since January. And this is extremely significant growth. And what we were looking for was a system where we could take all of the knowledge, all of the lessons learned, and all the information to design and develop and support our open WeWork locations from these early hires that first 100 people, they actually built some locations with their own two hands. And what we wanted to do was take that information and knowledge and put it into a public shared resource that would support our internal growth and the new employees, so we could open a location, not just one location every couple of months in New York, but 10 to 15 new locations or additional floors every single month around the world. Living and working with intent is what is most important to us. And these words up here, they're our values, and they're not just buzzwords for us. These values set the foundation for our work, for what we do, our community, and they're also the foundation for WeWork Connect. Regardless of what department we're in, they're the guiding force that creates our company culture. We're all on the same page, they keep us honest, and they're aligned with our mission. And that mission is to provide the space, community, and services that enable our members to do what they love and create their life's work. And fortunately, we consider ourselves our biggest member. And if we can do and enable our employees internally, then we can also support our members in the same way. And we need and are consistently need and are continuing to make sure our employees are getting everything they can to increase their chance of success within their role and then in support of our corporate growth. So today I'll be discussing our journey as we leverage Confluence to create the intranet and using Brickit that reflects our community and corporate culture. Like I mentioned, we are growing like crazy, and earlier this year we actually did a survey that measured 8 different data points that we identified as critical to our employee experience. And the response was really overwhelming, and we identified a couple of growth areas. And one of those areas was to work on better, more clear and transparent communication from all areas of our business. I do want to note that this area of improvement was not due to a lack of intention or lack of trying from our teams, from our leadership, from our executives. It was a lack of a centralized system and platform that could be our go-to resource for everything WeWork, which brings me to our vision statement for WeWork Connect. And our vision was to develop a centralized knowledge resource that was scalable and agile, promoted interdepartmental transparency and collaboration, but also connected our team globally and looked really sexy and aligned with our brand values. So the goal of WeWork, a couple of our goals was to remove all these multiple sources of information and make Connect the go-to place for all of our content. We also wanted to promote transparency by providing announcements, corporate content like presentations, meeting live streams, archives to our previous meetings, and then organizational definitions, provide that to all of our employees so they really understand our business. We also wanted to create and share all functional knowledge and best practices, leveraging many Confluence features for referencing cross-posting into other department spaces, and really getting the right person to care for the information and then share it and distribute it among the corporate culture instead of so many departments having their own version of brand guidelines, and we have that single source of truth. And then we also wanted to use it as our air traffic control, where we're able to direct team members to additional platforms or reporting services, both internal and external to the company, that they could use to do their jobs better, but always through Connect Home, and always that was this is our point guard. Oh, sorry. So what I want to do now is provide a little bit of background on kind of our journey through this. WeWork has been using Confluence for quite some time. Like I mentioned, I was a consultant previously for WeWork, and we introduced Confluence as a platform for just technical design standards in 2014. And we created these more of like technical specifications and they were only referenced on an as-needed basis. It used the typical global look and feel. We also, I think, only used a table of contents macro. We weren't really using the tool how we could really use it. And later that year, we kept redesigning as much as we could with our cloud instance by changing font colors and updating templates and trying to make it more user-friendly for our teams. And over the next several months, we did continue to improve the interface, but we really pushed the limits of the global theming feature. In the summer of 2015, our digital team, that team develops all of our internal or our external member-facing platforms, they obtained their own cloud instance of a software to develop their software projects with the intention of preparing for SOX compliance, as well as other additional just like project management streamlining. And then at the end of 2015, other departments that were interacting with the product design standards and the tool that we built out for them, they also wanted to get on board. And what we did was start building up spaces for them, and the legal team wanted to get their contracts out of email and share them with the teams, their templates with the teams that they're most up to date, and get them using all the same information and not out-of-date information, which is actually more important. And that takes us to late spring 2016, where we kicked off this development project. So the goal of this project, the issue was that we had multiple data sources: email, WordPress, Google Drive, different servers, and multiple Confluence environments that were causing confusion and impeding cross-functional collaboration. And functions, we found, needed the ability to exchange and leverage information with each other, as well as have an isolated and internal space for them to have project and team dialogue that wasn't affecting the broader corporate community. We needed a platform that could also be easily managed by a very lean team of admins, while still maintaining best practices and making sure everything is running smoothly always. And we needed to consolidate, but also remain as true as we could to our brand messaging, which was to stay on brand so people actually use it. The project team for this project was completely cross-functional. Our steering committee consisted of leaders from every executive group, including our chief culture officer, our chief HR officer, the chief technology officer, and the project was sponsored and managed by the corporate technology group. But we were also supported by a number of functional experts. I'm actually not in corporate technology. The core project team included a representative of product, strategy, and digital, and then C Prime also provided technical support on the implementation side. And our project manager, Roxanne, is here, so I just want to give her a shout out, because without her and her amazing project management capabilities, we actually wouldn't have been able to launch such a successful project. So Roxana, thank you. Yeah, cheer for her, guys, she's awesome. So the initial project scope for for the migration project was to consolidate 2 different instances of Jira and Confluence to provide a single and scalable and highly available system for all functions and teams. And the first phase was to consolidate all of our information platforms. We have the digital cloud, the product cloud, and then the second phase, and then while also developing an on-brand design theme. And then the second phase was to incorporate these other groups who were using Asana, the corp technology standards, as well as the community and ops standards, which existed on WordPress. And we had a number of, as you can see, we had just a number of spaces. And even though product only had 14 spaces and 10 projects, we had thousands of pages of content that needed to be migrated over. So, and so we actually ended up having 2 different masters, one for Jira and one for Confluence, just because of the information that the projects on the digital side had for Jira, and then the amount of content we had on our Confluence side. The final scope for this was the community and Corp Tech jumped on board, and we're like, we also want to get our standards up there. So we incorporated hundreds of additional standards into the initial launch of the platform, which pushed our due date about, I want to say, 2 or 3 weeks, which it actually was a much more successful launch because we were able to get the community team, which accounts for over half of our company, on board with access to their standards really seamlessly. And this was our project schedule, and the migration project and Connect development happened almost in parallel. Like I said, we kicked off the project in May, at the end of May. Our migration was completed at the end onto a server instance at the end of August of 2016. But during this time, we also held work sessions with every department to gather requirements for their spaces. We assisted functions that we identified as super critical to launch with. We didn't want to just have every single department have their own space with just a landing page. We wanted HR to have their content up there. We wanted Corp Tech to have their content up there so people could start using it as a resource immediately. And then we also had to rationalize the existing content that was migrated. And that included, like I mentioned before, the brand guidelines where there were multiple versions. We had to get it to the right owner and then share that information within different spaces, but using Confluence macros and add-ons. In September, we received access to Bricket Theme Press Designer, and working as a team of 1, like, you can do it, guys. I did it by myself. With no formal training on the tool, I started the front-end development of WeWork Connect, and we officially launched in November. So I want to talk a little bit about the structure of how we organize WeWork Connect. Our entire company is based on organizational agility, and it's manifested through this modular concept of executive groups, functions, and business lines. And executives at our company have a really fluid scope of responsibility, and we needed a platform that could enable it. So we are structured based on this matrix. We have the exec groups, and most functions are centralized or regionalized depending on the discipline, and then they are organized by executive group. And then we also have business lines, which are regionalized, and these are permanent brandable products with distinct revenue streams, and these are like WeWork, WeLive, and our services store. Because of our corporate matrix structure, it was necessary to develop our Confluence space based on this, and we needed it to be modular and allow for an easy restructuring as our business grows and evolves and changes over time. And so what I want to do is take a few minutes to review how we did that, but here in this example, we have the executive group space, and then each function below may have their own space. They may be combined with additional departments or their sub-functions and disciplines. But then as these teams keep growing and evolving, we've actually added additional spaces and then projects and resource repositories, and just really making the tool work for how each team wants to work. And that was really important to us. And this architecture is flexible and agile and adaptable, and it's a huge thanks to how we can use Confluence and also with how Brickit ThemePress is set up. Over the last 9 months, we've actually made a lot of micro moves and shifts for sub-functions and disciplines, but for the purpose of this illustration, I'm just going to talk about our exec groups and our level 2s. And after the migration and requirements gathering, we came up with this structure for Connect. However, over time, as we were growing, that was in August, we moved into November, and we had to make some minor shifts, and we were growing and shifting, and we had to also make those shifts for launch. So when we launched in 2016, in November, this was our final structure. However, in January, we had to make a lot more moves as we continued to grow, and there were a number of significant org changes and shifts due to key team hires. And the biggest issue was that we had to update this immediately, so everyone viewing the content was living in the most current org. So this was January, and then in July, we did another major shift, and this included combining a bunch of spaces and teams and moving them around. So currently, this is our current breakdown. And actually, this changed last Friday, so I've actually had to update it since then. So my slide is out of date. But if additional corporate initiatives or teams or exec groups change, or if anything is added, we are ready to make these changes almost instantly. This is very important to us, especially I do the new hire orientations every single week on Connect, and it's important that we are showing them that this is your org, this is where you go to learn about your team, and nothing can be out of date. And it's a difficult task because we are constantly evolving, but because of the ease of the tools, we're able to make these changes very quickly. So a little bit about our system information. I'm also just a functional expert, so if you have more technical questions, I'll be able to connect you after this talk, but we are running a server and self-hosted instance of Confluence. We have almost 150 spaces. 126 of those spaces are themed, and the other 30 are projects that are using the typical global theming, but that was up to the project manager. We theme spaces as whenever anyone wants them. I prefer to, so everything is consistent, but project teams are choosing whether or not they want their actual project documentation to be themed or not. And then we do have actually now over 3,800 users, and this also includes external consultants, which was one of our requirements, which was to make sure our consultants had access to certain standards. All of our employees can access the platforms through one login using that global SSO connector, and this helps streamline authentication processes and access control across multiple platforms for us. Our consultants actually access this by bypassing the one login screen and authenticate through the typical Atlassian login, but this gave us the ability, and like I mentioned, our community team is over half our company, and so when we launched, we actually did not want to change their process from their WordPress standard site. So what we did was we created the WeWork Connect tile, which takes you to our homepage, but then we also created the community and operations standards tile where they just kept going to the same button, so we didn't block them or mess with their workflows at all when they're dealing with members and how they need to access those standards. We have a number of Connect user roles. We have your typical site admin, a space admin, which just kind of supports our content managers, but the focus is on our content managers. They maintain the space and pages, they manage the content, they communicate all new content corporate-wide or just to their teams, and they support some editors. We also have set up space permissions based on your function, whether you're an admin, whether you're a consultant, or a user, which would give you access to your internal space, or a function editor. We manage everything by groups, and it was really important to us to keep things clean, and so we can also remove and move people in and out as needed as their roles may change. So just some of our best practices for just overall WeWork Confluence. We decentralized all of our content management, and which gives each department and function the agency to develop their own content while emphasizing collaboration and knowledge sharing. Also, I was just sick of getting emails that said, please post this for me on the wiki. So it was taking that kind of effort out and giving it back to the people who should manage their content. We also review and refresh content on an as-needed and scheduled basis to ensure the quality and to make sure that Connect is our main source of truth. Like I said, we do the user permissioning and page restrictions through groups, and then to create this corporate-facing and then internal access and collaboration areas for teams. And then also one thing that's really important is training. I train constantly. I'm constantly supporting our team. We're doing individual work sessions and office hours. And one of our goals is to develop more comprehensive training material beyond just the typical Atlassian documentation, so we can show teams how to use their content in a WeWork way. So now the fun part, design. I'm going to walk through with how we use Brickit, and I'm really excited to show you guys this. This is a typical global look and feel. I'm sure most of you are very familiar with how the typical Confluence interface looks. And we do use the default global theming with minor adjustments to the colors for some projects. And this was a really great approach just for our initial design standards project, since it was more technical, but it did not fit the one requirement of being on brand for us. So the design look and feel, I actually had a lot of freedom with our brand department to design Connect as I felt appropriate, but I did still have to follow some guidelines, and that included our voice, making sure it was professional and relaxed, moving away from this traditional convention of the typical workplace. We wanted everything to be, like, even though some content is more technical and in the weeds, it was really important for us to maintain a warm and friendly, supportive tone throughout the entire platform. Due to some licensing issues with our fonts, we had to use some Google fonts that we uploaded that ended up being brand approved, but we follow these conventions for headers and body. We also have a very limited color palette, but that's because we want to use our photos of our members, of our spaces, of our events to provide the vibrancy and color that is our company to our platform. So some of our we had a lot of content considerations and requirements, and part of that was we came up with this list after a lot of brainstorming, and each function landing page was required to have a mission, a welcome statement, overview of their discipline and subfunctions, an org chart link from Workday. We're still working on an integration so we can get those iframe nicely in, and then contact information to key contacts or their content manager, so that people could reach out directly and right away if something was out of date or missing. We also have quick links, and then because of how the theming tool works, the side panel for the edit that is available in the typical Confluence scheme is hidden, so we require the page tree of contents to be included. The header was pretty typical. We had a logo, the menu by executive group, a comprehensive search bar, and then a functional header, which actually changes from space to space, so you always know where you are, whether you're in digital or product or the sales team. And then that header also included an executive group image that we identified, so you always kind of know where you are within the company. And then our footer included pretty typical things like address, links to our culture pages, and then external websites. And all functions were required to start posting their process guidelines, standards, lessons learned, documentation, anything and everything that we could get out of email and all these other platforms and posted and up for everyone to share. So to design Connect, we leverage Brickit Theme Press. And this is an Atlassian collaboration tool for creating dynamic and customized knowledge platforms in Confluence. And it's really great for non-technical designers. I'm an architect by trade. I have no coding background. And we decided to use this add-on, or this tool, and it was so easy to learn. The documentation's awesome. It's super accessible for non-technical web developers, which was me. And it also has a very user-friendly design interface. And most importantly, their visual design statement aligned completely with our goal for Connect. And this was really important to us, that we were building company culture, easing this information consumption, and then boost employee engagement for the entire company. So this is our homepage. We wanted to have a lot of consistent info. We have quick links with key links to our corporate calendars, to our IT systems gallery, which was really important so people know what applications are available to them and who support those applications, so we don't have all teams using different project management tools or multiple Dropbox accounts or Box accounts. It was really important that we consolidate everything and give people this resource so they know what is available to them, those tools for them to do their jobs. We also have a header image, which changes every once in a while. It's updated frequently. Just with events or whatever is going on. We have this scrolling announcements bar, which we're still not fully out of email with announcements, but we're getting there. And so a lot of these announcements, they will scroll up at the top and then link to additional Confluence pages. We have a featured content and announcements section that includes special announcements, detailed event information, press releases. Recently we used it for our summer camp event. And then we also have this culture box, which actually links you to everything, the all company meetings archive, the list of culture ambassadors, so just so you know who to reach out to, our recognition forms. And then we also have upcoming events, which show our opening, anything that's upcoming, like summer camp, anything that's corporate, and then also our upcoming openings. This was the default template for all of our L2 functions. So like strategic planning, each team had a mission, and then their mission statement posted at the top with their header image. And then we also had the page tree on the side, as well as our welcome statement, the team, and then quick links to different things like relevant functions, external platforms, onboarding content, key content pages. For us, for my team, we still use the default because that's just how our team is working right now, and we're really, really tiny. So we'll continue to build up this content. Most of the time, we're focused on building content for additional functions. So that's where our focus actually is. This is an executive group landing page template. We're rolling this out to community. Community was beyond brand. We also had to deal with some requirements from community, and what their requirements were to make it look exactly like the WordPress experience at launch. So that's what we did. This is not that. But we're upgrading community to this. And this was product's homepage. And because product is structured a little bit differently due to just like kind of the growth that has happened over the last 4 years, people are going directly to the product site instead of going through the homepage. So what we wanted to do was share the homepage announcements so people who are still using the product site and not going to WeWork Connect Home are able to see what's going on. We also created a forced navigation system, which will force each team member to go either into their design function or their development function or to their onboarding content. And from there, they can navigate to each of their disciplines. And these discipline links are action buttons and block links that are really sexy, and it allows people to get to the information they need. And then we also have a back button. But it was really important to this team to customize their space in a way that forced their team to use it how they wanted to, how the operations team wanted them to use it. So if you chose architecture, from there you go to this landing page where we implemented tabs. You can see your team. You can get all the knowledge you need to develop projects. We use an Airtable embed here for the team right now. You also have links to the different project delivery processes, which will then link out to the corresponding content pages, and then links to our product standards. But it was really important that all of these teams and disciplines were super consistent in how the information was viewed and laid out, but it also forces them to use the content how the teams and leadership wants them to use the content. This is just a typical content page. We have that header at the top that I mentioned, and then we do use the drop-down menus for each function at the top of the page. And then the design is like relatively simple, but it's clean. And then we also integrate a lot of images and different macros and everything for just this typical content or technical standards. So on the horizon, we are developing a lot. In between sessions yesterday, I actually rolled out a space and created a completely new landing page. So you can do it pretty fast on the fly without a mouse. And we're constantly improving. Our major project right now is our new member development team, where we're creating Google Map embeds that actually connect to Airtable, which is their database management right now, where they can click on different maps and then see gallery views. I wish it was ready. It's not ready yet. And for each region. So the teams can really fly through when they're on the phone with potential members and pick locations that will work appropriately for their use case. We're also creating a people policy portal and right now all that content lives in our people space, but what we want to do is move that out and have an actual portal for everyone to go to, and we're also regionalizing those standards. We're also developing a strategy to relaunch Confluence questions to use as kind of like our Stack Overflow or the kind of like the information hub if people actually have questions, because right now we don't have that. And then we're also working on a WeWork Foundations space, which is like WeWork 101, using mostly includes, but this is a developed and designed space that leverages cross-posting for onboarding and training purposes. So it's not just for new hires, which initially I looked at it as like safe space for new hires. You know always where to go, the information's there, we have definitions and a glossary, and now it's for the re-education for everyone as they move roles, as they continue to evolve, and as the company continues to evolve, we'll have access to more information to just be more transparent about and tell our story how we want to tell it. Some of the apps that we use are Bricket Theme Press. We're leveraging Confluence questions shortly. Crowd is coming soon, hopefully, for user management. And then a few of the other integrations we are trying to work on is with Workday. We have multiple with Airtable, and then also to integrate our internally built platforms that have been developed from the ground up. And now I'm going to talk a little bit about adoption. Our strategy was to engage employees and connect them to the information and empower them to be contributors. We also are continuing to improve our site design to enhance user experience. We're trying to keep content as fresh as possible. We want every function to develop and manage their own content, post it, promote it cross-functionally, and then maintain Connect as a single source of truth. We also want to manage change and through onboarding, presentations, work sessions, and support, and develop training modules. And it was really important for us to make sure everybody's comfortable using the tools. Right now, I've only onboarded about 3 people onto the design tool, mostly because I'm just very protective of this platform right now. But slowly, we're going to ramp up key content managers to actually work on the design of their own spaces. So current adoption, we have 2,800 weekly users, which is really huge since we have about 37 or just over 3,700 users. We clearly want to push this a little more. We have about 1,000 users daily. I wish it was all 3,700. And while it's great to see these statistics and see our site usage grow, we think our adoption rate is beyond just these Google Analytics. We have 250 content editors right now, and the biggest win I've found so far is that one of those early hires, when we started doing the design development, she the very first iteration of design standards, she basically was like, this is out of date, this is stupid, we're never going to use it. And so she would never push her team to use it. And recently she became an editor, and it was like my biggest win ever. Like, I got her on board, and now she's the one creating content and making her team is using up-to-date information, and just getting her on board was a really big win for us. And since launch, we actually do about 3 to 5 training sessions weekly to get people onboarded to Confluence, and then also eventually to the Brickit ThemePress design tool. And then we have now definitely over 40,000 pages since I made this slide that are active, and we're growing. And all functions have been onboarded, and they currently manage their own content. And we are working with each team to refresh their design, refresh their their pages, and then just make sure everything is really tight and relevant and current. We also, our most popular pages are our WeWork Connect home, which is really great because that's where all the announcements are, our community standard spaces, product standard spaces, which is also one of our I believe our second biggest team, and then our all company meeting live stream pages, which is really great news that people are attending those globally. And I mentioned that we do have 126 spaces that are active in the Connect theme. And then finally, looking ahead, we want to grow our team to more than just one Confluence admin and stay lean, but also teach people how to use the tools so they can kind of manage their content effectively on their own. We want to enhance the user experience and features and improve that user experience through different design and content development. We want to continue to tell the WeWork story and frame where we are, what we do, and how we do it as we continue to evolve, and then also scale the tool as we continue to grow and scale. So finally, WeWork is a platform for creators, and we do provide members throughout the world with space, community, and services that enable them to do what they love. And our own team is central to that mission. And by continuing to grow and scale Connect, we can only empower our employees to work together to be as knowledgeable as possible to accomplish our corporate goals. And do what you love, and I'm happy to answer any questions you guys have. We have about 4 minutes.